Anyone, Emily, who's watched these before knows that we've got a bank of social media lights, and we just got to wait for some of the social media to kick in, and it occasionally takes a while.
That's
Um, s-
okay.
so in our little green room, Mark said there was one particular person I couldn't talk about, but I'm not going to talk about that. I just want to get. Did either of you attend a very large banquet in Windsor last night? Emily, did
No,
you?
not
Mark, did you?
guilty.
Okay, so the menu. I just want to run through the menu because and can you just? I want to get an appreciation of your food taste to see whether you like the menu that was on offer at the banquet at Windsor last night. So the starter was Hampshire watercress panini cotta with parmesan shortbread and quail egg salad. Mark, would you go for that?
Yeah, that sounds all right.
Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, definitely. Love a bit of watercress.
Okay,
Yeah.
Emily, you're going to like this one. The main organic Norfolk chicken ballotine wrapped in courgettes with a thyme and savory infused views. Emily, would you be up for that?
Yeah, no,
Uh,
it's good, well balanced. I like it. Courgettes just coming towards the end of their season, though, question.
yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, so there's a question about the courgettes. Mark, thumbs up, thumbs down on the main.
Sounds good. I'm not chicken's not really my favourite protein source.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dessert. Thank you, Mark. Dessert: vanilla ice cream bomb with Kentish raspberry sorbet interior and lightly poached Victoria plums. Emily,
Sounds safe to me.
Mark.
Everyone loves a bit of raspberry. My favourite soft fruit.
Okay, and then I've got to really see how sophisticated you both are. The cocktail called the Transatlantic Whiskey Sour, crowned with pecan foam and garnished with a toasted marshmallow on a star-shaped biscuit. Mark, would you be up for that rather than a pint of Harvey's,
I'd
Mark?
rather have a pint of Harvest, thank you. I'm not really a
Okay.
cocktails type of guy.
Emily, I can see that right smile. I think you are a cocktail sort of a lady.
Well, kind of, but whiskey, no, wouldn't be my
Oh,
favorite. But I get, food diplomacy. We talked a lot about kind of what everyone was wearing and how the whole thing kind of presents. And food diplomacy is an interesting concept.
yeah, well done. Okay, then to top it off, after dinner drinks included a 1945 vintage port, a 1912 champagne, and a whiskey bottle for Queen Elizabeth's Golden Jubilee in 2002. So, Mark, let's go with you first. Would you go for the port, the champagne, or the whiskey, Mark?
It'd be a port for me.
Emily.
English sparkling wine every time. Send it back.
So, what did we ascertain from that? Mark, you're not very sophisticated like me. Emily is. Boom. We are now live. Here we go. Three, two. Hello, my name is Max McGillivray from Beanstalk Global on AHDB Talking Leaders with the fantastic Mark Campbell and the equally fantastic Emily Norton. Mark, do you want to just get us out of the blocks, please, and tell us about AHDB Talking Leaders? And then we're going to segue over to Emily. Mark, you go first.
Brilliant. Thank you, Max, and hello, everyone. Yeah, so HDB Talking Leaders is a series where we bring some really interesting people from inside and outside of our industry, and just find a bit more about them and understand their strengths and what how they could play a part in the industry as part of the Agri Leader program, which is everything people, management, and leadership that we can help farmers and growers develop their skills.
Fantastic. Okay, and let's just give it a little bit of a background to your good self, Emily. Not that you really need it, and I would go for my auto cue, but obviously the Suffolk Labrador knocked that over early in the day. So in September's Talking Leader, we're joined by Emily Norton, the new chair of the AHDB. Emily, the newest chair of AHDB. She has over 25 years' experience as an advocate, commentator, and advisor on agriculture, sustainability, and natural capital in the UK. Originally a lawyer, Emily has worked in the EU and UK as a rural policy strategy and land use expert. She also holds several non-executive roles, including trustee at the Royal Norfolk Agricultural Association and as a respected media commentator. Emily, I love how these summaries all set up. She lives on a farm in Norfolk.
Yes, because you've got to, establish that kind of credibility with your audience, right? It's the ultimate cheat code for working in farming.
It is. And if it's okay to say, I think when it was announced that you were the new chair of the AHDB, I think the industry gave a collective sigh of positive relief, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, maybe the detractors were out there and quiet, but I was really, really happy to receive so much positivity, which speaks partly to the importance that people place on AHDB and how much goodwill there is for AHDB. People really want it to be successful. And yes, I was slightly blown away that so many people have backed my ability to make a difference there. So it was a great moment. It was a really lovely moment, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so was there a bit of trepidation? Were you a bit nervous when you're going for it?
Yeah, enormous, because you don't really know what you're letting yourself into, right? You know, you don't really know what the job's going to be until you sort of start. And I was boringly, not name dropping, I was in Amsterdam. I was going to a conference in Amsterdam, and I got the phone call. And then it was at that moment, you know, having been through the whole process, you know, you only interview on the basis that you're interested in doing it, right? And then you get the phone call, and the phone call is, yeah, we'd like to offer it to you. And you just have that moment of like going, oh shit, sorry, are we allowed to swear? Is it too early? You know, can I do this? Am I going to be able to actually kind of, you know, make a difference here? Do I want to get stuck in and do all of this? And it took me the best part of maybe 5 nanoseconds to process all of that and then go, yeah, of course I do. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have like actually jumped through the hoops I've already jumped through and put the work in to kind of having thought about it and asked the questions and had the conversations and to do all of that legwork unless I wanted to do it. So it's just at that moment, you know, it's really natural to question yourself. But, you know, I think if I've learned anything from leadership, it's that, you know, there's no point flirting with danger, right? You just got to bloody well get on and do it. Otherwise, nothing happens.
Yeah. Where I find you fascinating, Emily, and we've talked a lot about this on the 50+ broadcasts that we've done with Mark and his fantastic colleague Isaac. There's a book in everyone, and to me, Emily, you feel like you're only halfway through your book. So it's fascinating to see your career today. What the positive changes that you're going to create within the AHDB, and it's a comment, not a question. What's next? So that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be excited to watch you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years on.
Yeah, well, you know, good question. I've sort of stated some ambitions to what it is that I want to be doing and where I want to get to, and sort of what I think positive change would look like. But also, I'm really terrible at answering that question of what's your 5-year plan. I have no 5-year plan for anything. It's just about kind of continuing to make the effort and to do good work as best as I can. And quite sweet, my eldest has just left school, and in his leavers assembly, his headmaster gave a really good talk about making dots. So rather than having this kind of, okay, I'm going over here and I'm going to achieve that, it's just like wherever you are, kind of like be where you are and make a dot there. And then it's only with hindsight that you can see how the dots join up. And it was one of the first kind of moments that I've had anybody give me a method to describe how my career makes sense. And it only makes sense as kind of in hindsight as joining of dots. It's all been me, but I've been doing very different things. And I've got, you know, where I am now with AHDB as my current dot. I don't know where my next one's going to be.
Yeah, well done. And Mark, I don't know if you remember this anecdote that I've given before, that I met a couple that were voraciously chasing their careers, that on New Year's Day, they made this plan as to what they were going to achieve in that particular year. And every other day they would go to their fridge and they would analyze what their game plan for the year was looking like. And they would chase each other to chase their career goals. They got divorced within 3 months. So the point of that is, I love the thought of the dots. But if you have that rough thought as to where you're going and follow the dots, Mark, you must see that with the other business leaders that you come across.
Yeah, no, definitely not having a rigid structured plan and sort of taking opportunities and embracing those opportunities as you go will help steer the kind of direction, obviously with a common goal through the middle. But thinking about leadership and thinking about what good leadership looks like, what for agriculture today, and we want to draw on the positives in today's session, not the negatives. And there's a huge amount of challenge. What do you think good leadership's going to need to look like in UK agriculture as we move forward? And how would that be different to what we've seen previously?
Are you asking me or Emily?
Emily, sorry.
I know. I know my place. Go, Emily.
That's good to hear, Max. What does good leadership look like? I think it's so hard, isn't it? it's sort of trying not to critique kind of everybody who's been before. But there's something about just showing up. And I think the thing that I really believe in is probably a bit around self-determination. The thing that bugs me most about the industry at the moment is that we tend to speak with a voice that says, if government fixes this, everything will be okay. We need more of this kind of thing from government, and then it will be okay. And I just don't think that that's right. I think what I would like to do is to help farmers and farming and sort of food production more broadly. Obviously, AHDB speaks to kind of the processing sector as well, to be clearer about what its own plan is. Not what it wants government to sort of be generally kind of, you're in charge of us, fix this. But, more of a coherent plan that says, we've thought about this, we are businesses, we are people, we are competent, we have agency over how we want things to happen. And not that there's kind of a single sort of controlled, centralized sort of answer to where these solutions are coming from. So, and that's what I'm really trying to kind of say, if across the whole piece, the different groups work together, there will definitely be common denominators of things that we can say, look, if we could work on this solution together, that would be great. But the leadership that we need is the kind of leadership that allows people to believe that they have got the solutions to the challenges that are facing their businesses. It's not somebody else's problem to fix. Everybody, we need a good operating environment, but every business needs to be resourced to have choices and understand what those choices are available to them. And that's why I really love AHDB, because it is all about resources, it's about knowledge, it's about information, it's about giving people, those businesses, the ability to have choices, informed choices, and then opportunity that flows from it. So, that's a long answer to a short question, but it's about believing in people and people having agency over their lives, their businesses, and their choices.
Well done, Mark. Can I just jump in, because I think what Emily just said there is so pertinent to your Agri Leader Forum that you have at the end of the year. That Emily, the Isaac, Mark, and the rest of the team, they create this what would you call it, Mark? This safe zone for 150, 200 farmers to come and to meet some unbelievably inspiring speakers from outside the world of farming, just to show them the light as to how they can progress their business, whether that be through leadership skills, people skills, or whether that be through innovation. And I agree with you, Emily. I think it's fantastic. But my words, not yours, that the farming sector in the UK, unlike any other farming sector I've come across internationally, does have this sort of splint about leaning on government all the time, and perhaps we've got to be more resilient. But Mark, bring it back to you. The Agri Leader Forum is a real powerhouse to get farmers to think for themselves.
It's an event that we try and bring like-minded individuals together and give them the space and the ability to challenge themselves in these kind of subjects, gaining those insights from people that they wouldn't normally come in contact with or would think about listening to. And it's about challenging, and it's about making them feel a bit uncomfortable to really question and critically think about how they can push their businesses forward. So yeah.
Can we invite Emily to the next one?
Emily came to the last one.
Oh, I do apologise. Emily, turn your ears on. Emily, turn your ears on.
You obviously weren't there, Max. I was. It was great. It was a really great day.
I was overseas. Sorry. Go on, Mark. Mark, you turn
I'm now
your ears on.
doing it now. So building on that point, Emily, leadership, business skills are going to be essential as we move forward in farming. The innovation and the change, the rate of change of our industry is quite dynamic. Why do you think and believe that developing leadership and business skills are as important as technical skills as we move forward? And that's on a farm level, at a levy payer, producer level.
So, yeah, I mean, I can be quite personal about that, because having sort of grown up in a farming family and seen family business in a farming context, the whole journey that I've been on with that, in terms of my own sort of personal leadership journey, for one of sort of, sometimes very grandiose, doesn't it? I'm on my leadership journey, But you know, I've been probably to the bottom of that, and then sort of, you know, sort of trying to get through that the other side. And when it was at its hardest, it was because I was trying to do everything. I was trying to be everything, and really struggling to be effective at anything, because I thought that I was having to, you know, trying to innovate, trying to drive diversifications, trying to be a good mum, trying to be a good partner, you know, trying to be like brilliant at everything. And farming is just really tough. It's a lot easier to do farming if you stick to farming well. There's enough variables in farming that you don't kind of need all of those external pressures going on, right? So the solution to managing all of that complexity is to be like personally match fit. And that's what I had to realize is this metaphor around fixing your own gas mask first. You can't be effective for other people and show up for other people in your business unless you personally are on top of yourself. And so doing that self work is unbelievably important to then be able to be an effective leader within your business, or an effective contributor to your business on any level. And that was the sort of fairly painful realization that I came to, was like, not kind of how many jobs am I doing, how busy am I being, what sort of, you know, 15 different things that I'm trying to drive forward, you know, and what am I trying to do, but actually, like, who's on my team, who's showing up for me, and what sort of what are my personal strengths, what are other people's personal strengths, and how can I kind of then create opportunities and a better structure around the entire business and also around myself, in order to allow the whole thing to kind of move on. And so I had to painfully stop doing things that I wasn't very good at and that were causing a lot of friction, and try to focus on the things that I am better at, and kind of provide more stability through doing so. But it's a horrible process to do if you've been in a position where you know, the way that you're showing up is causing conflict, to then do that sort of self-motivated work to go, okay, this is not about blaming everybody else. This is actually about me and how I'm showing up here, and getting that stuff done so that you can be then there for other people. That it takes some effort. And I think that's why talking about leadership is so important, because it's not just management. How do you kind of, like, you know, effectively tell people to do something differently? It's about saying, who are you as a person? What are your values, your integrity, what you're able to call out, what you're able to stand up for, what progress you're able to make and drive. And you can't do that unless you've done that self-awareness work to understand how you show up in the world.
Well done. Mark, can I just jump in? And Emily, you're having a private discussion with Mr. Watson. So rather than having a private one on the chat box, if you've got questions for Emily, put them in on all the various social media platforms, and we'll ask Emily of them. Philip asked, interesting discussion on 5-year plans. No plan is ever fixed, as we don't know what the future holds. Personally, a 5-year plan works for me, but needs flexibility. Emily?
Yeah, no, I get it. And I was just going to say that, you know, yes, if you don't have an idea of what good looks like, and where you're going, then, you know, you'll just flounder around. But I think the way that I kind of resolved that was to have that understanding of what I'm good at, because then that helps me make good decisions. And so I feel strongest, and this came from the Worshipful Company of Farmers Challenger Rural Leadership course, where we did these psychometric assessments, that Emily thrives on finding out about stuff and using it for the benefit of others. So I know that any opportunity that I, you know, get sort of thrown at won't work for me unless it ticks those boxes. It's got to allow me to find out about things and use it for the benefit of others. So that's kind of my decision-making thing. Like, other people might have a 5-year plan, but that flexibility, whatever it is, it's like, you know, pick a goal and stick to it, great. Or like pick a decision-making framework, and then that's how you adjust, right? So you constantly kind of adjust to say, okay, well, I need to do more of that and less of that, because that's what allows me to be effective. So I think it's the same process. So I'm quite pleased you asked the question live, because I looked at it and thought, I can't really type a short answer to that question anyway, because I get it. I get the value of, like, well, unless you have a goal, how are you ever going to achieve anything? How are you ever going to hold yourself accountable for what you have and haven't done?
Yeah.
But so it's a real balance. Everybody's different.
Yeah, and tell me, team, if I'm crossing the line here. Henry Dimbleby at Groundswell. I interviewed him, and we had this debate as he was going off to speak to the at the main gig. And I said to him, Henry, do you not think that within agriculture, UK government, we need the Singaporean method? They have a 15-year plan, and they just stick to it, whilst we seem to be jumping and changing every 5 years. Emily, do you think we need a longer term plan, a longer term vision within politics, within the AHDB, what do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the challenges is we've gone from the relatively stable environment of the common agricultural policy, where things were very, very certain and we kind of knew where we got to a situation where, the very foundations by which our sort of farming system and food production system gets supported is contested. It's not clear quite what those decisions are and how they're being made, and it's that new level of sort of deep uncertainty which is clearly sort of driving a lot of the sort of uncertainty that is kind of sitting underneath the industry at the moment. So I would still come back to, it's up to the industry to decide really, where we want to be going with that. What's our 15-year plan for our industry? And, yes, I get all of the reasons why we're foundational to the broader economy and everybody else should care about it. Yes, but that's true of an awful lot of other things as well. I'm not saying that food is on the same scale as music streaming services. Clearly not, but I still think if it's a 15-year plan, it should be our 15-year plan, not somebody else's.
Love it. Mark, over to you.
No, I just a few reflections, a few points that I was going to jump in. It's really refreshing for you to hear you saying about your self-awareness and just holding that mirror up to yourself to be able to aware of your strengths and the areas that you're really good at, but also then playing to the teams and the people around you, which might not be employed staff, or it could be consultants and advisors, and playing to their strengths continuously. And I know that within my little team with Isaac, that's something that we all do. We're very, very aware of what we're good at, and I'm very aware of what I'm not so good at, which hopefully each other can complement each other. And the other point about you're saying about relationships and people, I think if anyone wants to have a read, Isaac, my colleague Van Heerden, his Nuffield report that delves into some of these traits is how you make people feel, and how you can bring those relationships together and make people feel is how you're gonna push things forward. But thinking and building on that the answer, I was just on the answer to the question to where we're going in terms of the plan. Like we've said, the industry is changing at a massive rate. What kind of skills and mindsets do you think that our farmers and our levy payers are going to need over the next 5 years to sort of overcome and maintain resilience and competitiveness in the sector as we move forward?
I think that's a really interesting question, Mark. I've thought quite a lot about it, and actually what I firmly believe is that there's not one version of the truth in all of this, right? What good farming takes is deep resilience and focus and attention to detail, and being quite blinkered to the external variables of stuff that's going on. Because if you were, and also sort of comfort in complexity, so just able to kind of accept that there's an awful lot of stuff that's outside of your control, as we know there are in sort of farming systems, and enable it, despite all of that, just to get on and do the job. So that's a certain mindset that's unbelievably important, because if we were expecting all farmers to be like I don't know, like sort of core business leaders who were accountable to shareholders, who were only doing things that sort of made sense against a completely different set of criteria, they probably wouldn't be farming. You just wouldn't do it, right? So I don't think that there's a single kind of set of skills or mindset or anything that's going to be the only truth in our future. We need good, efficient, professional businesses that kind of are doing one job. We also need very good, community-focused, inclusive businesses that are doing another job. We need an awful lot in the middle, which kind of like cope with the dynamics of family farming businesses, because they are equally resilient against all of this kind of uncertainty that sits outside it and can kind of flex in the way that other business models can't. So what you need is the ability, I think, it probably is that self-awareness bit, is to say what kind of farm, what kind of farmer, what kind of food business am I, and then how do I be as good as possible at being that thing. So it's not that feeling that you should be something different is such a horrible feeling. You're just kind of working out, where do I fit in within this industry? What am I good at? What am I doing? And doing that to the best of your ability, I really think is all we could ask of anybody.
Emily, are you optimistic about the future of UK agriculture?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we get it kicking all the time, but we're so programmed to hear the negative.
Yeah.
And I think if we, in all of everything that's being done, what we're not doing enough of is kind of focusing on what good looks like and what that kind of positive future is. And we can't stop doing this, regardless of what all of these challenges are. And I confession moment, Max. I did a introduction to improvisation course, just because I was just bored of my children telling me to shut up, basically. So I'm just like, no, how do we like play again? It was fun. The point being, it's all yes and. So yes and. So you take whatever's been said, yes, I get that, and then you build on it, right? And I think that's the attitude I want for this industry. We kind of hear the criticism and go, oh no, you're wrong, because we this is what we do. And I'd rather go, okay, yes, this is where we're at, and we can do more. Yeah, we can all, and it kind of just adopting that positive framing to say, okay, to evidence or science or knowledge or insight or technology or whatever it might be has given us an ability to see this and see the truth in this. And rather than rejecting that, to say, okay, but we still need to do this. So this is how we're going to go from here. So it's continuously building and evolving, rather than feeling that those things that are being said to us are no buts, right? It's a yes and rather than a no but.
Yep, and I think it's all coming towards us, and it wasn't meant to be a dictatorial question to you. I just wanted to establish what I think myself and Mark and a number of people are positively thinking. If you look at the likes of Here It Comes, Mr. Clarkson, encouraging by default more people to sign up to Cirencester to do agriculture. Other universities are available. And also, I just want to give you both a crazy example. 2 weeks ago, I went to Camden Market with my daughter, who's 21, and she was adamant that she wanted to go to this particular food outlet, and they do potatoes, cheesy chips. And it's a bunch of really fun Indian guys, and they sing you a song as they're making the cheesy chips. And there was 30 deep in the queue because of the TikTok viral sensation. When we got there, I said, "Where do your potatoes come from?" And they go, "No idea. We just get them from the wholesaler." And I said, "Do you want to come to a potato farm?" And they said, "Yes." So we got that set up, and you can imagine that. So I'm really excited that if we could do this, this connection, go back to you, Emily, join the dots within the industry and create that positive momentum and try and push away the negatives. I know it's very difficult with the likes of the weather and economic pressures, but we've all got to eat, and if we can enjoy it whilst we do it, I think the future is very bright. Mark?
The future is always very bright, and the glass is always half full, which is all good. Moving on, Emily, and just thinking a little bit about AHDB and the fantastic appointment as you as chair, and we're so pleased to have you. What part of the legacy that you've joined do you want to build on, and where are you wanting to take AHDB in the next coming years?
Okay, so what AHDB does really well is kind of so obvious, but often quite hidden. The market intelligence, the insight, the data, the economics, the analysis that are driving decisions, driving opportunity that show up in export conversations, all of that guts, that data, that heavy work sits behind it. And that's to be celebrated. That's what we've, as an industry, in a broader sense, across the sectors, have co-created. That's what we've jointly invested in, right? Is all of those things. And so I'm super proud of that, and really interested to see how we can continue, particularly in light of digital innovation, to kind of drive and continue to drive value out of the information that we have co-created and co-generated. And so that is definitely the legacy. You know, it's going, there's so much there. How do we build on it and invigorate it and make sure it's fit for their future purpose? And where do I think we need to go? I think there is a key set, and to be, you know, across the 4 sectors, I think the hardest value is to demonstrate in cereals and oilseeds. Just to be completely honest about it, you know, you can't do generic marketing. It's a tough sector. Market prices are down. There's a competition from what feels like competition from agri-environmental schemes. It's a tricky sector, and there's lots of stuff going on, as we know, all those external factors that are influencing and impacting on those farm businesses. And so I really want to be there to help support that sector specifically. Think through what its future was, the future of cereal production, cereal and oilseed production in a high cost environment. You know, it's trying to work out, you know, is there a future for commodity production? Like, how do we add value? What does it mean to have this environmental information? Where's the market opportunity? The climate change factors, the risk, the resilience picture. You know, there's so much positivity there, so many good stories of how that sector is the foundation for all of the other ones. You know, but it's going, you've got to drive confidence and value down to cereal and oilseeds producers, because if they're not confident, then none of us can be confident. And I think that's really, really important. So just working on that space, I think, is probably my biggest challenge. That's a very honest answer. Probably I'll get shot for saying that.
No, we definitely like honesty, and think so there's immense change and amongst change management, which is kind of uncomfortable. How can we as HDB, we want to continually improve the service and the support that we provide levies? How can we better help our customers, our levy payers, to navigate those challenges, particularly in the kind of short term and the medium term? What would your vision be on that?
I think it's partly making sure that the information that we've got within AHDB is available to those levy payers where they need it. So making sure that the outreach and the translation services that are going on, you know, are really there. I know, you know, we can't be everywhere. You can't be at every farm gate, but actually there's a sense that the information can be. So how are we continuing to kind of ensure that the right kind of information is available when people need it? So I think there's a packaging question there almost, and it's also definitely a communications question for farm businesses who have been relatively comfortable and who are now not comfortable due to circumstances beyond their control. You know, how are they able to benefit from the resources that AHDB have when they may not have had cause to kind of come to us recently? So making sure that we are accessible. We haven't kind of almost gone too far with some of the technical stuff, that people still have good entry points to kind of thinking about evolving their businesses and kind of dipping their toe in the waters of this stuff for the first time. I think it's this being very aware of that can feel unbelievably intimidating. And also I think, you know, farmers are even, it's kind of this extrovert introvert thing, isn't it? Like actually going to an on-farm event and meeting other farmers and kind of doing that thing, it's not comfortable for everybody. If you enjoy working on your own in an isolated environment, then, you know, going to some of those things is pretty horrible. So how can we make sure that we are, I don't know, using webinars, using this kind of environment, you know, to kind of make sure that we're disseminating information in really accessible ways that lots of people can get to? And I think that's a key challenge for us, is to make sure we truly understand what kind of questions farmers are asking, what information we've got available to them to support them with that, and then how we're ensuring that it's available in a way that's accessible.
No, and you've kind of answered my follow-up question to that, because ultimately our success and our impact depends on farmers engaging with the products, tools and services that we deliver. So what would a message be to you for a farmer that's potentially listening to this on a social media platform that's just popped up on their phone, to actually take a look and get involved with what we could potentially offer them, and how we potentially could support them in one way or another?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's to be brave enough to start. Like, the first step is always the hardest. And so just getting involved in any kind of industry event, any kind of just opportunity to show up and start thinking, it's really important. So, you know, it doesn't have to be, I don't know, signing up to a 2-week residential, or, you know, going back to university. You know, you don't have to make it that complicated. There are loads and loads of really basic things that you can start to do, and be brave enough. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable in that situation. Like I alluded earlier to kind of a time in my life where I didn't feel confident to do these things at all. And actually in part of that sort of recovery process, or kind of like training myself to be part of society again, one challenge I set myself was just to ask a question at a conference. So to go to an event and to put my hand up and to ask a question. And I managed to do that. And it was at the Norfolk Farming Conference years ago. And people still say, oh, I remember when you asked that question.
Wow.
And it was a really good question. But like, for me at that moment, it was utterly terrifying. It was part of like this rehabilitation journey to just kind of find my voice again. And, you know, not like, oh, look at me now, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, wherever you are is okay. And you can take one step towards kind of working out what you need to do for your business in order to make it an effective business. So just don't feel overwhelmed if it feels enormous. Just start with one thing, because one thing will build your confidence that you can do another. So, and also don't be put up, you know, never be put off if things don't go quite right. You've just got to be determined to keep going, and they never see it as a failure. Never a failure. Mark it out of 10. That's the other thing. If you go and you don't get on, don't see it as 0 out of 10. It was failure, right? You've got to see it as like 4 out of 10. Like, what went wrong? What went well? Nothing's 100% ever a failure, right? Just so constantly go, well, next time it can be 6. And how can you kind of each time kind of find successes within your journey towards wherever it is that you sort of feel that you want to go? And that's just roughly how I've kind of got over some of these moments where I've gone, this is too much, or I did that wrong, or, you know, I want to do more. And it's just to kind of keep building your confidence to keep going forward.
It's that analogy of just keep pedaling.
Well, to an extent, but you've got to be brave enough to stop, right? And if you're just pedaling and going nowhere, like, take that moment, that deep dive moment to go and ask yourself a question, a challenging question that you wouldn't otherwise have felt brave enough to do, right? That's so difficult to do that. So I get what you're saying, but also I think being brave enough to stop pedaling is part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Mark, didn't we have a speaker on, and he talked about the 1% element of it, that if you do something that just makes you 1% better, perhaps a day or every week, it just over a year, over a couple of years. And then, Emily, I love what you said about the Norfolk Farming Conference. You put your hand up and ask that question, because say it on your behalf. Look where you are from that journey. Mark, over to you.
No, excellent, all good. So we draw as Brits. We always like to have a mode and focus on the negative. But as you've alluded to, there's a huge amount of opportunity with the industry moving forward. What do you think is the industry's biggest opportunity right now and in the immediate future?
Our biggest opportunity right now and in the future is the fact that we are a hungry, crowded island full of people who care passionately about the countryside and also about their food. I think we quite quickly fall into this narrative of, consumers don't care about farming. We don't have that connection. They don't understand what's going on, and they don't care about, where their food comes from. And I think it's looking for the evidence that that's not true. Max, you've already alluded to kind of how this sort of how we can use communication tools and influencers within the industry to drive connectivity, and to sort of build those bridges. I do think that a lot of that negativity of kind of farmers being defensive, we're so close to all of our communities. This is the problem of being a very crowded, hungry island. We're very close to our communities. And actually, if we open ourselves up to our communities, we might find that there's a lot more opportunity to make more money from them directly than having this very kind of, closed mindset, defensive mindset. So I was asked a question the other day about security on farms. And I couldn't disagree with the premise of the question, which is, should farmers be taking responsibility more for their own security? And there is obviously a big biosecurity question, which is sort of slightly separate to this. But I think actually the more we're telling people to get off farms, the more we are losing that opportunity to connect with our consumers and the people who care about what it is that we do. The more that we can welcome people onto farms, the more that we have the opportunity to build those stories, build that connectivity, and also learn from our consumers, learn from them what it is that they want their food system to be. They might have completely unrealistic expectations, but there would definitely be, crossovers where we can learn and continue to drive that forward. But it's terrifying. It's terrifying to open yourself up to that public scrutiny. But unless we do that, we don't drive the integrity that takes our entire industry forward, and that whole permission to farm piece. So I think it's really important that we are continue to be brave enough to kind of connect with our 80 million neighbours on this island, because they really are going to be, they will need us and we need them.
And team, surely the AHDB is going to be integral to that, Mark?
Yes, definitely. With the work that we do from the farm gate and post farm gate, and all of the marketing campaigns that we do to try and drive awareness about the fantastic products that we produce is going to be hugely important to, like Emily says, to build that connection and build those relationships with our consumers.
Go, Emily.
Can I just apologise to the export teams, because I know they do tremendously good work. It's not that that's not an opportunity, but I think working with our, a hungry island is really our core opportunity, is to have that connectivity and that sense of identity and national pride in what we do.
And Emily, just a segue in, you've been on a few other webinars, and you've stated that your ambition for the AHDB is to give the AHDB its confidence back. Do you think this is something that we've got to see not only for the AHDB but for farming per se, all in one, encapsulated? We've got to give AHDB and farming its confidence back.
I think so. AHDB is farming. Farmers invest. They are the levy payers. They are the processes that are investing in AHDB. We are only that. We are kind of a mirror. We do the kind of the investment in the market failure bit, and then we kind of give it back to farming. So it should be this kind of perfect symbiotic feedback loop between what's showing up as in problems as the industry and how we collectively fix them as AHDB. And at the moment, it feels a bit like it can feel like, because things are difficult or because there are challenges, that we want to kick ourselves. And that's within the industry as well, that people are kind of just angry at each other. And I get that. That's kind of, I guess, a function of where the world is at the moment, that there's so much space for criticism. But so, like, how do we reframe that narrative to go, look, we get it, we get the reasons for being angry, but actually there's no point in being self-destructive. Let's be constructive and find those solutions together. And that is what AHDB is entirely constructed to do, is to take that investment with its levy payers and then drive the whole industry forward. It's what we do.
Yeah, but you could even say it's a bit like driving societal change within the sector. Mark, AHDB, the confidence. You've worked for the AHDB for a number of years. I'm presuming that you see a lot of confidence with the AHDB now and in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've got to be braver and prouder, and to show the capabilities that we've got across all the amazing teams and work streams that we deliver. Because if I'm honest, for some farmers, we're the hidden secret of the industry that is that foundation, like a foundation of a house that's hidden, and actually it provides some huge amounts of insight and support.
And just to big up Mark and his colleagues. Do you remember, Mark, a couple of years ago we did the Great Yorkshire Show, and we were meant to be going from one site to another site because we were doing video interviews, and we couldn't get anywhere because I think there was 3 or 4 of us within the AHDB team. All these blinking farmers kept on stopping these AHD members to talk to them, to say how well they were getting on with the help of the AHDB work. So I had to give up in the end and had to go on my own because there was been so positively received at the Great Yorkshire Show, the centre of the universe. Mark?
It's important to have that connectivity though, isn't it? Like, to show up and actually be there at these places. And what I feel bad about is particularly being kind of, a high profile role within the business, probably as you do as well, Mark, is that, you will just get kind of faced with lots of really straightforward questions, like people saying, genuine questions, like, what's this on this? And then I feel bad because you feed that back into the business to say, can you please help this person with this particular query? So it does feel like, that it's a lot, it's a lot, but it's really important that people kind of have that ability to kind of question and have that connectivity back. And so it's absolutely essential that anybody out there who is in farming can approach AHDB to say, can you help me with this particular question? And I think in all of the research kind of jobs that I've done before, that's where the really interesting questions come from. Like the questions that you're being asked by people at the coalface of this thing, and where you'll get your really kind of like bright, sparky ideas from. And what I'm trying not to do is to overload the business with kind of, because everyone's so busy. But, you've got to, it's that kind of healthy tension, isn't it, between you've got to be delivering what people need, but also finding and flagging resources and constantly kind of, being there for people is absolutely essential. So, I absolutely champion it, being at events, being where farmers are, allowing the opportunity for conversation and insight and challenge and, helping people find things. It's an honor to be able to do that.
Yeah, but Mark, in comparison, I'm just thinking of I'm picking on poor old banks. You try and speak to someone within a bank as a small business as we are. It's just a binary relationship with a computer. Mark, with the HDB, it does feel like it is. I'm going to use the word community. Going back to that Yorkshire show, all the things that we've ever done, Mark, whether it be South of England show or cereals as another example, that relationship that you all have with your members does seem to be more of a community rather than a binary relationship, Mark.
No, definitely a community, and there's a whole field team across the country that, yes, generally are sector specific, but please just pick the phone up to any one of those. And like Emily says, we're quite happily, we won't be able to answer everything, but we're better signpost you and get you in touch with the right expert to build that relationship and build that community and help out. However small or large of the question, we're always there to help and support and signpost to the right resources.
The other thing, sorry, I was going to say, the other thing I'm getting used to is when people come up to me and say, oh, you're doing this really interesting project on this particular thing. And I'm like, are we? That sounds great. Because there's so many people do so many amazing things. And I think that's part of the problem. There's a lot of it, right? And so I'm getting kind of more practice at going, thank you so much. Not that, it's not bluffing it, isn't it? But some of them, there's good stuff across the whole organisation, and being relatively new in post. That's my excuse, but it's not going to last for very long. But, they're just fascinating projects going on all over the place, and making sure that that's disseminated and delivered out, and that people have the ability to kind of access that good stuff that's going on. You can't expect farmers just to be, looking at the website all of the time. We've got to be making sure that we're disseminating that back, and actually, so that connectivity, having those conversations, finding your specialists, finding your little tribe, the people who've kind of, your knowledge network, who you trust, and who's sharing good stuff. That's really what it's all about. There are networks in lots of places.
Yeah, and just to continue this theme, can you both show off for me what can we look forward to in the short, the medium term future from the AHDB? Show off for me, Mark. You go first.
Oh, where do we? There's huge amounts of stuff that's going on. There's the baselining, national baselining project, which is out and rolling out, and we should have some results and some initial findings later on in this year. We've got the amazing marketing campaigns across all the sectors, from milk and pork and wheat balance, that again are coming out all this year. So there's you put me right on the spot. There's so much to talk about, so much to cover.
Okay, Mark, thank you. Emily, show off for us.
Oh, well, I only have one priority at the moment, really, and that's recruiting our next Chief Executive Officer. And so I've been in London today, finalising interviews. You've got some brilliant candidates, and I'm really excited because, AHDB needs a great leader, and it needs somebody who can really be there for the people, and make sure that the organisation is fit for the next 5-10 years. So that's what we need to look forward to, is having a good person in post.
Well done. I'm feeling all this positivity. Mark, over to you. Do you want to keep going, or should we wrap up? Your call, Mark.
I think we better wrap up, because I think Emily's had a very, very busy morning, and I'm supposed to be in a training course now, which I'm having a late lunch, so we better crack on. But no, a fantastic fantastic, very short discussion. We've gone from understanding yourself and self-leadership and putting that mirror up and playing to all of your strengths. The one phrase I really love what you said, Emily, is be comfortable with complexity. And I think that's a really, really strong message, that the world is challenging, but just be comfortable with that and think about what you're good at. The Ikigai model is the one that comes to mind, is what you love, what you're good at, and does it make any money, and just be comfortable with that complexity. And then just a bit of an overview in terms of the vision and how you want to push us as a business forward and keep us improving and keep better serving for our levy payers, so that we can unlock the potential of our industry. It's definitely where we want. It's been a really good nearly 50 minutes that have whizzed past.
Yeah,
Matt.
but I've just had a WhatsApp from a Thomas in the West Country. Emily seems incredibly approachable. I look forward to seeing her at various industry events over the years. So,
Good.
Okay, and so to wrap up, I want both of you after 3 to answer this question. Right, you ready? After 3, what's your favourite colour of tractor? 1, 2, 3.
Blue.
I'm a green.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Emily. It's been a real great pleasure. For anyone out there listening, please do check out the AHDB website for anything that will cover the prepper. If you're looking at anything, people management, we talked about that. There's the labour life cycle or the AgriLeader web pages, which will give you some really good resources and information.
Emily, are there still blue tractors about? Or was this just a cute thing associated with Norfolk?
They are on my farm. Yeah, they might now technically be. What is it? It's not. Is it classic, vintage? I think they're probably classics.
I think
I can't remember how it's either. You have like actual modern tractors, and you have classics, and then you have vintages. Yeah. That I grew up with blue tractors. That's it.
Okay.
End of. It's a topic of contention in my relationship for sure.
So Mark, we know what to get Emily for Christmas. We're going to get her vintage tractor weekly or monthly. It'll be on your doorstep from January 2026 ongoing. Emily, thank you very much. Mark, thank you.